There we go. We're recording.
Beautiful. So, good morning. My name is Pamela Brown. I am with the Lakeside Alliance. We are the builder of the Obama Presidential Center. We are joined this morning by Maurice Robinson and a very special guest, and we'll allow him to introduce himself. But for those of you who've been following our videos for a little bit of time, you will know that we've been doing our best to spotlight businesses and organizations doing great things in the South Shore, Woodlawn, Jackson Park community, and any of those communities surrounding the footprint of the project. So I'm going to let this person introduce himself. In fact, we go way back to grammar school. So
Grammar
dating
school.
ourselves, we're dating ourselves just a little bit. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Erick Soderberg and introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, and then your new role.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Pam, and thank you for having Maurice. My name is Erick Soderberg. I am the director of the SBDC of the South Shore SBDC. So that's the South Shore Small Business Development Center, along with Tanya Trice, who's the executive director of the South Shore Chamber. A little bit about myself. First off, I am a West Sider. I wear that badge very proudly. There may be some Southsiders watching, so if you see me on the street, you already know it's the West Side is the blessed side. Second of all, I've been a career banker for over 18 years, or I had been. I was a commercial lender, ran a commercial lending team, and commercial real estate lender, and I just decided after the Great Recession in 2008, 2009, that we needed to determine how to deploy more educational resources in the community. So I started a not-for-profit called the Urban Business School, which is now actually called the Soderberg School. And what we do is we focus on entrepreneurial education. And through this journey that I've taken building this nonprofit for entrepreneurs in the community, I was able to start some entrepreneurial efforts of my own. So one of the very first entrepreneurial efforts that I embarked upon was that I bought a Save-A-Lot store along with Leon Walker on 107th and Halsted. And so Leon and we ran that store for approximately 4 years. And during that time, that's really where I cut my entrepreneurial teeth, because one of the things that I like to reflect on now is that commercial lenders, your banker, they really don't have a handle on what entrepreneurs need in the community. And until you're an entrepreneur yourself, you're really just giving your clients lip service. And what I mean by that is if you have never gotten on your knees to pray to make payroll, then you have never been an entrepreneur. And so having gone through that experience with the Save a Lot store and tackling the issue of food deserts in the Washington Heights community and West Pullman, we were able to use that and really start building a platform on what is an effective hands-on learning experience to help entrepreneurs get to the next level and help them scale their business. And so after we sold that store, I went back to banking for a little bit, focusing on commercial lending. And I just realized that, again, that our communities really needed the help. So I turned back to the not-for-profit to focus on entrepreneurial education full time. And then that's actually when I met Tanya Trice at the Chamber. And Tanya began inviting me to teach classes to her artist groups as well as construction groups. And then there was a real estate cohort that we started to grow through the Chamber. And things just really kind of took off. And it was Tanya's vision to really establish the Small Business Development Center in South Shore, because we quickly realized that there was a lack of resources to entrepreneurs in South Shore, and not just existing businesses, but we noticed that there was a difficult hurdle for startups to really start a business in South Shore. So we wanted to make the process a lot easier and a lot more robust from a perspective of we wanted to be able to give these entrepreneurs, these startup businesses, resources and really help point them not just in the right direction to get funding, but really what are some of the mechanics of you running your business so that you can be more successful, so that we can kind of not guarantee your success, but almost ensure your success.
Okay. Okay. You said a whole lot.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
Just
no,
No,
jump
that's
in.
good.
Cut
I
me
have a
off.
lot
Cut
of
me off.
questions.
no. You said a whole lot. And woven throughout everything you talked about is this sense of community responsibility, right, in your efforts and how what that looks like, and it looks differently for different people. But I'm gonna let Maurice jump in with a couple questions really quickly.
Yeah. So when you talked about the now Soderberg School, you I wanted to know more about some of your accomplishments at the school, and what will translate to you being the new SBDC director.
That's a great question, Maurice. I would say one of the greatest accomplishments is when I started the school. It was really just an offshoot of what I had experienced as a banker, as a commercial
Mhm.
lender. And then when I went back for my stint in commercial real estate lending, I saw that there was so many people from outside of our community buying up real estate in our community. And what I mean by that is that when I say by outside people, a lot of the loan applications that I was underwriting and reviewing were from people from Canada,
Okay.
California, France, the Netherlands, that were all buying real estate in Auburn Gresham, Chatham, Inglewood, South Shore, and I had to take a step back, and it really it was very shocking to me, is maybe the best way to put it, when you see so many um, outside entities or outside um, businesses coming and buying up real estate in your community, and then you look around at these communities and they're not getting better. And then when you think about real estate from a equity standpoint, meaning that the more owners you have, ideally the better the neighborhood should be. And when you look at black home ownership it hovers right around 40%. So 4 out of 10 people own real estate on every given block in Chicago or in these communities. And then I started really reflecting on that, and it came to me that that's one of the primary reasons that our neighborhoods have such a large level of disinvestment, as well as obviously it's the beginning stages of gentrification. And then what's worse is displacement, when you have entire historical communities of folks being entirely displaced. So one of the largest accomplishments to really try to drill down on your question, Maurice, was that I tried to come up with a solution, or I came up with a solution on how to address that. And the school started a program called the Community Developer Boot Camp. And out of this program, we've educated close to 200 people. And that number is growing. Obviously, COVID slowed us down a bit, but we're ramping back up. And what the model of the Community Developer Bootcamp, Maurice, is that it's based on a collaborative economics model. So how do we teach working class folks in our communities to invest in real estate, but not teach them how to go it alone, but teach them how to do it in collaborative cohorts where they share the risk, they share the reward equally. And I think that that's a much more effective process, because we're giving people access to education, access to real estate inventory through our partnership with the Cook County Land Bank, as well as access to capital with our partnership with different lenders in the community, with Renovo Financial being one. So one of the proudest moments in that is that this has kind of sparked a movement. And out of those 200 people, there's at least been 3 projects that have been successfully executed, and this group format that I've introduced, in this group or collaborative format that I've introduced. And our goal is to do another 3 to 5 next year in 2021, God willing, that this settles down. So when we talk about from an accomplishment perspective, if you can imagine bringing strangers together and encouraging them to invest together, that was a very heavy lift. And it was something that I had underestimated initially, just being fully transparent, because I did not realize how dysfunctional our relationships were with one another. And out of that dysfunction, there's an inherent mistrust. And to overcome that mistrust, you learn how to build a business because you do things the right way, meaning that we have an attorney, we have a staff attorney, Deanna Reynolds, who's our corporate counsel, who actually puts together the operating agreement for the cohort members, that sets up their LLC, that helps guide them through the legalities of actually building this real business, so that they can execute these different projects, so that we can ideally reinvest in our communities by buying up real estate, either holding that real estate as a long-term investment. And then obviously when we started the program, we would buy the houses and sell the houses for short-term investment, so that these groups can start realizing some of the cash investment that they initially had made.
So let me ask this question. You mentioned distrust, right? And realizing the dysfunctional piece in our relationships and the fact that there's a lot of distrust there, especially given the climate that we're in right now.
Mhm.
Um, what do you think, or how do you think we could go about start having these larger conversations, right, in order to kind of regain the trust of the community when we're so used to people, um, misusing our trust, if you will, and using it for something else or whatever. What do you think could happen as far as bringing the galvanizing the community, right, to really talk more about collective development, right, collective community development? What do you think we could do there?
I think and that's a great question, Pam. I think one of the things that we have to do is just show more. I mean,
Mm.
I guess it's one of my greatest successes to date, but it's also one of my greatest frustrations, because think about it, 200 people rolled through the program. We were just able to get, just struggling to get 3 projects going, right?
Mhm.
So you would think that we would have a significantly higher project success rate. But it's, again, it goes back to that social proof, so that people can start seeing that, hey, this works, and employing it. And that's one of the things that we're focusing on going forward, is execution, execution, execution. So now that we've kind of solved the issue of the mistrust, and when I say solve it, it's not 100% solved, because that's always going to be there. But I think once you bring in an attorney, once you have legal documentation, and then the other thing that we do, Pam, and I think that the best answer to your question is just full transparency.
Mhm.
Is needed. One of the other things that we've done is we've brought in Greater Illinois Title Company, Demetrius Cole, and what we do now is that the students' investments are all held at Greater Illinois Title. So Demetrius Cole sets up an escrow account. Those funds flow into that escrow account, and those funds are designated specifically for the investment. So the school doesn't handle any student funds. I don't handle any student funds. And I thought that that was an important component, because obviously people are in the back of their minds, they're wondering, what is Soderberg going to do with my money?
Right,
But in
right.
this situation, Soderberg doesn't hold your money. Greater Illinois Title holds your money. So you worrying about, me running off to the Bahamas, with your cash investment, that hopefully mitigates that worry. So I think transparency is really the key, and then obviously social proof, us really replicating this again. And I think one of the biggest struggles too, and I think you and I talked about this earlier,
Mhm.
was to get larger corporations engaged. I mean, when I started pitching this idea to banks, they freaked out, because initially these groups were pretty large. So the cohorts were about 20 people strong. And if you can imagine 20 Black folks going to a bank, applying for one loan collectively to rehab a house, banks, you know, they were like, we've never done anything like this before. And so what we've done is we've broken those groups up into groups of 10 to 12. And that's a little bit more palatable, but still, we still have not found a lender that's like totally bought into this whole crazy idea I came up with. And it's just one of the things that, again, another success that we had, touching back to Brother Maurice's question, is that we started just crowdfunding the money. So we bought a property in cash from the Cook County Land Bank with a fundraiser that we ran called the Community Rent Party. So we had a rent party that people contributed to, and then the proceeds from that rent party went directly to purchase the property from the Cook County Land Bank. So we have to come up with alternative ideas, alternative ways to raise capital. And I think these concepts that we teach the students that go through the program are invaluable, because at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur, to kind of bring this back full circle to the Small Business Development Center in South Shore, being an entrepreneur, your daily mission is to figure out stuff and to solve problems.
Yeah. So how do you think, and thanks for that pivot back to your new role. How do you think your experience, right, in all these different endeavors and your interactions with the banks, your history with the banks, how do you think that will aid in your new role, being director of the center?
Well, the biggest, obviously, the obvious thing is that I'm a former banker. So former commercial lender. I've reviewed, hundreds. I don't want to exaggerate, but maybe thousands of business loan applications. So being able to ascertain viability of business ideas and business models, and really getting a good gauge on who is successful and who is not successful. And I think, Pam, being able to share those stories with entrepreneurs on what this business did
how are you?
It bore fruit, and then
I'm
the
blessed.
businesses that didn't bear fruit.
I see I missed your call. I was going to get with you this morning as well, so it's a good thing.
I got you.
That I think that experience is really what's going to be critical in helping those initial stage entrepreneurs, and then obviously to flow through to the existing entrepreneurs, just having the relationships with the different banks and other support agencies, such as your organization, such as Lakeside Alliance. I think that is going to help us carry folks through from the startup phase to the launch phase, to help them become established businesses.
So thank you so much for bringing it up, because that now lends and connects Lakeside Alliance, right? Our mission was always to make certain that as we're generating interest for the project, that we were also responsible and accountable to the businesses who we came across, the businesses and individuals. So I think that even now we're neighbors now, right? Being housed in the Resource Center on 71st Street. I definitely think it's a more of a symbiotic relationship, in that we meet businesses all the time who could use a little tender loving care, if you will, from a trusted source, to make certain that, their ducks are in line and things of that nature. So this is great. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing that you have someone sitting in a role who does have this sense of community engagement and looking at things through that sort of lens, right? We call it, in the corporate world, it's corporate social responsibility, but it looks differently when you're doing it for the community, right? When you're doing it for the community and you're doing it for folks who live in the community, who have a desire to build their businesses there. So what would you say to anyone watching this video who was like, this sounds all good or whatever, and I got a business, I kind of don't know what to do or whatever? What would you tell them to do?
Well, we're finalizing our curriculum of classes, and I think that would be your best first step. One of the classes that we're very excited about, we're very excited about. One is a business idea formulation class, where we're going to help you formulate your business concept, where you could then take it to the next stage would be the business plan. Because one of the things that I like to do, Pam, and people always at the bank, they would come to me and say, hey, I have a great business idea. The first question that I would ask them is, how does it serve the community? And a lot of times people take a step back and they say, well, I never thought about how does it serve the community? But your number one business goal or your number one motivation for your business is, how can you be of service? Because once you solve the problem, or once you answer the question on how to be of service, then you can start building out your business plan. So this whole Will It Fly class, or this launch class that we have structured, and then that will lead into our second class, which is our business plan building class, our business plan boot camp class. I think that those two programs are going to be invaluable, especially to startups that need to get a footing and an understanding on what they need to do, and then obviously be able to put it in the paper. Because frankly, Maurice and Pam, I can't tell you how many businesses as a banker that did not have business plans. And it just kind of blew my mind. I'm like, well, how did you start this thing? Oh, I started writing stuff down in a notebook, and, I found a spot to rent, and, I came to you for the money, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, and you really, expect to be successful with this kind of like by the seat of your pants, endeavor. And, thankfully some people were successful like that. And it was kind of like a hit or miss, maybe 30% successful, 70% not successful. But I can tell you without a doubt, the vast amount of people that survived, where I saw their businesses go from, startup, where they're still mature to this day, they all had business plans. They all took a business plan class. They all took the time to sit down and write out what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, how they were going to borrow money, and how they were going to pay the people back that they borrowed money from. And, I could rattle off some of those businesses. I gave Ujamaa Construction their first loan. I helped Jimmy get in business, and Jimmy was very impressive from day one. And he had a plan. Professional Elevator had a plan. Ken Mason had a plan. I mean, these Michelle Ringo Financial, Michelle had a plan. And all of these businesses that I helped get on their feet, they're still around to this day. And it was because those businesses had a plan. They had an idea to serve the community. I mean, when you look at what Ujamaa is doing now, Ujamaa is a servant. They're not just a construction company, they're a servant in the community. You look at Professional Elevator, they're a servant in the community. You look at Ringo Financial, she's a servant in the community. And I think that is your best bet. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about starting a business, the best advice I can give you is to take a walk around South Shore. Walk the streets of South Shore, walk the streets of 71st Street, Jeffrey, Stony Island. There is a need there. There's a need in South Shore for businesses. Your homework is to determine what that need is. And then your follow through is to sign up for the classes, and you'll see them very soon when we post them on the website. And you can reach me at eric@southshorechamberinc.org. and email me your information, and we'll add you to the mailing list to sign up for the classes.
Okay.
Quick question. I wanted to jump in and kind of expand on what you were saying, Pam, and Eric, you kind of mentioned it about one of the hurdles being the lack of a plan. But what about one of the things that we discovered, one of the hurdles were quality of life hurdles in the South Shore community. Those being lack of transportation, lack of just a lot of lack. I don't even want to go into all the details. But how do you, as the director, tackle those financial hurdles, like lack of collateral, lack of capital, in order to start a business?
That goes back to the question, Maurice, and that's a great question, brother. That goes back to what I was saying earlier about it's the entrepreneurial mindset is to figure things out. And let me just I'll share this with you, and because I can talk forever, and y'all don't want me to start preaching on here because you're getting me worked up, Maurice. So so people always ask a question, the first class, right? Always first, it's the same question. I asked the students, what is your favorite entrepreneurial movie? So I'm gonna pose that question to you, Maurice. What is your favorite entrepreneurial movie? Like, so a movie that's entrepreneurial focused, that inspired you to think about opening a business.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I got a pretty mundane one.
What's yours,
Well,
Pam?
tell while Maurice is thinking, Pam.
Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire.
I like that.
Show me the money. Okay.
I just
Okay.
watched that.
Jerry Maguire.
I thought about The Pursuit of Happiness immediately.
Oh,
That and Wolf of
okay.
Wall Street. Those two movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
even though I don't want to go to jail, but yeah.
No, frankly, those are great answers. I get a lot of interesting answers. I have, when I was helping the young brothers in Chicago cred, a lot of them would say Scarface, and so and so I'm like, that's awesome. The biggest takeaway: don't get high on your own supply. That could cover the gambit on a few different industries, not just the illegal industry, right? It's, I used to tease a cat. One of my clients owned a sandwich shop, and I used to always ask him, did he watch Scarface? Because he seemed to be getting a little high on his own supply. He was eating too many sandwiches. So, that is applicable in every industry. But my favorite entrepreneurial movie, and people always give me a side eye when I tell them this, is The Martian with Matt Damon. And the reason why I say The Martian is my favorite entrepreneurial movie is because here it is. You have Matt Damon, without giving too much away for those of you who have not seen The Martian. Matt Damon becomes stranded on Mars. Matt Damon has to figure out how to survive on Mars when no other human has ever lived on Mars before. And one of his main tasks of survival is he has to figure out how to grow these potatoes on Mars out of this hydroponics kit that was on the spaceship that they arrived there on. So as an entrepreneur, to answer your question, Maurice, every day when you talk about these challenges that we face in the community is, how do I grow potatoes on Mars today? So how do you figure it out? You got to figure it out. I mean, if you don't have transportation, you got to figure that out. If you have a lack of capital, you have to figure that out. If you have not so perfect credit, you have to figure that out. But one of the biggest things is you should not give up. And one of the things that we're going to do at the South Shore Small Business Development Center is we're going to give you the resources and the encouragement so that we are that support system, almost kind of like Entrepreneurs Anonymous, where we're going to help encourage you about not giving up, and that you're going to have those resources so that you can figure things out. So you can figure out how to grow those potatoes on Mars.
Last question, because I know we're running short on time. So last question, what about those folks who already have a business? They already have a business plan. Maybe they've done their very first profit and loss statement, right? So they're working through this, whatever. What kind of services would you be able to offer them at the center?
Well, we're actually offering consultant services. So that's a great question as well, Pam. So what we're doing is, folks that have businesses already, we're actually doing we're putting together a process. And when you hear me use words like putting together a process and structuring, we're brand new. So we're one of the new 7 centers. Okay. So right. We're writing our own history right now. So from the consultant standpoint, we want to be able to take these existing businesses, and we're actually doing that right now with a program called Food Lab Chicago, where we're actually helping Black restaurant owners, existing Black restaurant owners, where we're doing a dive into their financials. If they have a business plan, we're reviewing that plan, making sure that they stay on track financially and from a mission standpoint. And we're going to do that for the existing businesses in South Shore as well. So I think it's critical that we obviously support our existing businesses in South Shore because they're there. I mean, we have to make sure that these businesses flourish. And to Tanya Trice's credit, she had the vision of putting together this Small Business Development Center because she fought so hard for it because of what we're dealing with COVID. So many of our business have been negatively impacted. you know, obviously with a dramatic reduction in sales and foot traffic, and it's such a needed resource for business owners, because a lot of times business owners, they don't know where to go. I mean, we've helped, you know, we've gotten over what I want to say close to $1 million, if not more than $1 million in PPP funds out the door to businesses in South Shore already. Something like over $500,000 in grant dollars to existing businesses in South Shore. So these are resources that our businesses need, and obviously the support that we can offer existing businesses as well as startups is going to, I think, be invaluable.
Okay. So just to wrap it up, well, first of all, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
You dropped a whole lot of great information there. So one last time, how would people connect with the Business Center, with the Small Business Development Center?
The best way to connect is email. It's Erick. It's can you post this when can you post it on the video? So it's ERICK. You know, I'm from the West Side, so my name is spelled a little differently. It's ERICK at South Shore Chamber Inc.org. And Pam and Maurice will post that up. Shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you. We'll add you to the mailing list so that you can take the classes. The classes are going to be hosted via Zoom, and we're excited to serve South Shore, excited to serve the community, and more importantly, we're excited to help you figure out how to solve that question on how to grow potatoes on Mars, or how we're going to grow these potatoes on 71st Street.
Right. All right. Thanks again, Erick. We'll happy to connect with you in the future.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Pam and Maurice. God bless y'all.
God bless
God
you.
bless you.
All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.